It's the Whisky Wizard.
Hello and welcome to the Whisky Wizard, where we say that whiskey making takes scientific knowledge, an artisan's skill and dedication, and a bit of the wizard's alchemy of light, air, earth, and fire. Yes, we recently covered the Bourbon Trail, and tonight we're going to talk about the American Whiskey Trail. The American Whiskey Trail is a newcomer to the story of American whiskey, even compared to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. As we've discussed in past Wizard episodes, from the colonial era on, whiskey has had an important economic and social impact upon the fabric of the country, from the Whiskey Rebellion through Prohibition and into modern times. Whiskey has played an important and sometimes controversial role in our nation's history. As a note, in the 1830s, the average American aged 15 or older consumed over 7 gallons of absolute alcohol per year. It came from an average of 9.5 gallons of spirits, 1/2 gallon of wine, and 27 gallons of beer. That's a quantity about 3 times the current rate. On the American Whiskey Trail, you'll learn stuff like this, or you might learn perhaps that Abraham Lincoln operated several taverns, and that the first Kentucky whiskey was made in 1789 by a Baptist minister. You might hear that in George Washington's White House, happy hour began promptly at 3 p.m. and continued until dinner. Nice. Anyway, the American Whiskey Trail is the name of a promotional program supported by the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States, or the DSC, that promotes the distilled beverage industry in the United States. The American Whiskey Trail was first promoted to the public on September 28, 2004. The American Whiskey Trail consists of various historical sites, some with actual operating distilleries that are open to the public for tours. On the trail, you'll find many of America's not only famous operating distilleries, but also many of these important historic sites connected to the history of distilling whiskey and spirits in our country. The DSC promotes the gateway to the American Whiskey Trail as being George Washington's distillery at historic Mount Vernon. Anyway, each of these sites along the trail probably has a unique story to tell. Sites along the American Whiskey Trail can be visited in any order or sequence desired, although again, the George Washington Distillery is promoted as the starting point. Anyway, here they are. Founch's Tavern Museum in Manhattan, New York. Gadsby's Tavern Museum in Alexandria, Virginia. George Washington Distillery Museum in Mount Vernon, Virginia. Oliver Miller Homestead in South Park, Pennsylvania. Oscar Getz Museum of Whiskey History in Bardstown, Kentucky. West Overton Village and Museums in Scottsdale, Pennsylvania. Woodville Plantation, John and Presley Neville House in Bridgeville, Pennsylvania. Bradford House Museum in Washington, Pennsylvania. Allegheny Museum in Cumberland, Maryland. Besides being recognized as historic sites, a number of these operating whiskey distilleries are open to the public for tours and in many cases tastings. Most are located in close proximity to each other in Kentucky, although a few are located in Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Utah, and West Virginia. You'll note that some of these also happen to be part of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. The official commercial distillery sites on the AWT include Buffalo Trace in Frankfort, Kentucky, George Stickle in Tullahoma, Tennessee, Jack Daniels in Lynchburg, Tennessee, Jim Beam American Stillhouse in Claremont, Kentucky, Jim Beam Urban Stillhouse in Louisville, Kentucky, Baker's Mark in Loretto, Kentucky, 1792 Bourbon Distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky, Wild Turkey in Lawrenceville, Kentucky, Woodford Reserve in Versailles, Kentucky, Wiggle Whiskey in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Four Roses in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, Old Forester in Louisville, Kentucky, and Angel's Envy in Louisville, Kentucky. Bullet Frontier Whiskey Experience, Sitzel Weller Distillery in Louisville, Kentucky, Town Branch in Lexington, Kentucky, O.Z. Tyler in Owensboro, Kentucky, High West Distillery in Wanship, Utah, Smooth Amber Distillery in Maxwellton, West Virginia, In addition to the sites and distilleries tied to the history of American whiskey production, the Distilled Spirits Council provides information and promotes the range of other types of spirit distilleries around the country in conjunction with the promotion of the American Whiskey Trail. Also, there's Limestone Branch Distillery, Black Button Distilling, a whiskey and gin producer in New York, and Tennessee South Distillery, and let us not forget Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery, maker of one of our show favorites, Belle Meade in Nashville. There's even a Tennessee Whiskey Trail, but okay, enough is enough. Go ahead and make a fun summer trip and challenge yourself by doing one of these whiskey trails. It's fun and in and of itself, and quite frankly, invent your own. Hey, how about the Whiskey Roundtable Trail? It'd have to be partly in the US and partly in Scotland, I should think. The point is, there's a ton of great distilleries out there to visit, and it is fun. Find those who make the stuff you most appreciate and go see them. There are private third-party tour agents in Kentucky that can help you plan your trip there and even provide shuttles and other transportation. I won't list them, as you all can Google. Anyway, all of us on the Whiskey Roundtable hope to see you all there sometime, somewhere on the trail, and as we said, maybe that's something we should organize. This is Douglas Dunbar, the Whisky Wizard, for the Whiskey Roundtable. Cheers, Slàinte mhath, and now...